When hope dies in the darkness, Captain Marcus Webb never expected to find anything alive. In the wreckage of the Zephyrian research vessel, the ship had been drifting in dead space for 47 years, its hull scarred by plasma burns and meteor impacts. His salvage crew aboard the resilient Dawn had spotted it during their routine sweep of the Outer Ring territories, where humanity was slowly expanding its influence among the stars. The airlock hissed as Marcus stepped into the alien vessel, his boots echoing through corridors that had known only silence for decades. Emergency lighting flickered weakly, casting eerie shadows on walls covered in strange, flowing script. His team spread out behind him, their scanners beeping softly in the oppressive quiet. "Captain," called Chief Engineer Dmitry Volkov, his voice tight with excitement. "I'm reading a faint power signature 3 decks down. Something's still running down there." Marcus felt his pulse quicken. Salvage was one thing, but active alien technology was worth a fortune to the Earth Colonial Authority. They descended through maintenance shafts, past laboratories filled with crystalline equipment that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. The deeper they went, the stronger the energy readings became. The medical bay doors stood partially open, and through the gap, Marcus could see something that made him freeze. A figure lay suspended in a translucent pod, bathed in soft blue light. As they approached, he realized it was a Zephyrian female, her skin a pale lavender, her long silver hair floating as if underwater. "She's alive," whispered Dr. Rachel Morrison, the team's medic, her scanner trembling in her hands. "Barely, but alive. The stasis field is failing though. Has been for years." Marcus studied the alien woman's face. Even in unconsciousness, there was something fierce about her features, as if she was fighting even in sleep. Her records, displayed on a nearby console in both Zephyrian and broken English, told a tragic story. Her name was Zinara Kethaval, a xenobiologist who had been studying human-alien cooperation when her ship was attacked by raiders. "The neural damage is extensive," Dr. Morrison continued, her voice heavy. "Whatever they did to her, it severed most of her motor functions. She can think, probably hear and see, but her body won't respond." Marcus made his decision without hesitation. "We're taking her home. If anyone can help her, it's the medical teams on New Geneva." His crew exchanged glances. Transporting an alien, especially one in critical condition, violated a dozen colonial authority regulations. But Marcus Webb had built his reputation on doing what was right, not what was easy. As they carefully extracted Zinara from her failing pod, Marcus noticed her eyes flutter open for just a moment. They were the color of deep space, filled with intelligence and pain. In that brief instant, he made her a silent promise. She would walk again. He would make sure of it. When science meets stubborn, Hopethi Medical Facility on New Geneva hummed with activity. As Dr. Rebecca Torres examined the latest neural scans, 3 months had passed since Captain Webb brought the Zephyrian woman to them, and Zinara had become the most challenging case of her career. The alien's mind was sharp, brilliant even, but her body remained a prison. Marcus visited daily, much to the staff's surprise. Most salvage captains would have collected their finder's fee and moved on, but Webb seemed personally invested in Zinara's recovery. He would sit beside her bed, talking about the stars, about human history, about anything that might keep her connected to the world beyond her paralyzed form. "The spinal interface is completely shattered," Dr. Torres explained. During one of their meetings, "Her people's nervous system is more complex than ours, but also more fragile. The raiders used some kind of neural disruptor. It's like they tried to erase her ability to move while keeping her conscious to suffer." Marcus's jaw tightened. "So, what are our options?" "Experimental surgery. We've been working with Dr. Hassan Singh, our cybernetics specialist. He thinks we can bridge the damaged areas with human-designed neural implants." But she hesitated. "But what? It's never been tried on a Zephyrian. We don't know if her body will accept human technology. And even if it works, the recovery would be extensive. Years of physical therapy, learning to walk all over again. She might not want to take that risk." That evening, Marcus sat beside Zinara's bed as usual. Her eyes tracked his movements, the only sign that a brilliant mind remained trapped within. He had learned to read the subtle changes in her expression, the way her pupils dilated when she was frustrated, how her breathing changed when she was trying to communicate. "I know you can hear me," he said quietly. Dr. Torres explained the surgery. "I won't pretend it's not dangerous, but I've seen what humans can do when we refuse to give up. We're stubborn that way, sometimes stupidly so." For the first time in months, Zenara's lips moved slightly. No sound emerged, but Marcus could read the shape. Yes, Dr. Singh spent 2 weeks preparing for the surgery, working with xenobiologists to understand Zephyrian anatomy. The procedure took 18 hours, with Marcus pacing the corridors like an expectant father. When it was over, Singh emerged exhausted but cautiously optimistic. "The implants are functioning," he reported. "Her neural pathways are accepting the connections. Now we wait and see if she can learn to use them." The first sign came 3 days later. Zenara's finger twitched, just once, but it was enough to send the medical team into excitement. Marcus was there when she opened her eyes fully for the first time, looking directly at him with an expression of fierce determination. "Hello, Zenara," he said softly, ready to show these doctors what impossible looks like. Her response was barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of decades of silence. "Ready." When willpower beats, Science Rehabilitation Center echoed with the sound of determination. 6 months after the surgery, Zenara faced her greatest challenge yet, learning to walk again with legs that barely remembered how to move. The neural implants glowed softly beneath her skin, tiny lights that pulsed with each attempted movement. Marcus had taken leave from his salvage operations to be there, much to his crew's bewilderment. "Captain's gone soft on an alien," they whispered, not understanding that some things mattered more than profit margins. He watched as Zenara struggled in the parallel bars, her legs shaking with the effort of supporting her weight. "The human brain adapts," Dr. Torres explained to the gathered medical team. "But Zenara's brain is having to learn to communicate with technology it was never designed for. Every step is like teaching a completely different language to her nervous system." Physical therapist Jana Crawford worked with Zenara daily, pushing her harder than most would dare. But Crawford had seen something in the alien woman's eyes, the same fire that drove humans to survive impossible odds. "Again," she would say when Zenara stumbled, "your muscles remember. Make them listen." The breakthrough came during week 23. Zenara had been attempting to walk the length of the parallel bars when she suddenly released her grip. For a terrifying moment, she wavered, her enhanced nervous system struggling to process balance and movement simultaneously. Then, impossibly, she took one step forward without support. The room fell silent. Even the monitoring equipment seemed to hold its breath. "Did you see that?" whispered Dr. Singh, his voice filled with awe. "The neural integration is beyond anything we theorized. She's not just using our technology, she's mastering it." Marcus stepped forward as Zenara took another shaky step, then another. Her face was a mask of concentration, beads of perspiration dotting her lavender skin. When she finally reached the end of the walkway, she looked up at him with an expression of triumph that transcended species. "Humans," she said, her voice stronger now, "are either brilliant or insane." "Usually both," Marcus replied with a grin. Over the following weeks, Zenara's progress accelerated dramatically. Her Zephyrian physiology, once a hindrance, became an advantage. Her people's natural adaptability allowed her to integrate with the human technology in ways the doctors had never imagined possible. She began moving with a fluid grace that seemed almost supernatural. "She's rewriting the textbooks," Dr. Torres marveled during a staff meeting. "The way her nervous system has adapted to the implants is giving us insights into both human and Zephyrian biology that could revolutionize medicine." But for Marcus, the real victory came the day Zenara walked out of the medical center under her own power. She moved slowly, deliberately, but each step was hers. As they stood on the observation deck overlooking New Geneva's sprawling cityscape, she turned to him. "You saved me," she said simply. Marcus shook his head. "You saved yourself. I just gave you the chance." Zenara smiled, the first truly joyful expression he had seen from her. "Then we make a good team." Captain Webb, as the twin suns of New Geneva set behind the distant mountains. Both human and Zephyrian knew this was just the beginning of something extraordinary. When recovery becomes resistance, at the attack on New Geneva came without warning. Zenara was in the middle of her morning exercises when the first explosions rocked the medical district. Through the reinforced windows, she could see ships descending from the sky, their hulls marked with the crimson insignia of the Thakmer raiders, the same raiders who had destroyed her research vessel 47 years ago. Marcus burst into the rehabilitation center, his salvage crew behind him. "We need to evacuate now," he shouted over the blaring alarms. "The Colonial Authority fleet is still 6 hours out." But Zenara wasn't listening. She was staring at the attacking ships with an expression Marcus had never seen before. Cold fury, mixed with something that looked almost like hunger. Her neural implants pulsed brighter, responding to her elevated emotional state. "Those are the ones," she said quietly, "the ones who made me a prisoner in my own body." Dr. Torres appeared with an emergency kit. "Zenara, we have to go. The military bunkers can protect us until help arrives." "No." Zenara's voice carried a finality that surprised everyone. "I've been running from them for decades, trapped in that pod while they continued their butchery. Not anymore." Marcus grabbed her arm gently. "You can barely walk without assistance." "What are you thinking?" Zenara pulled away, and Marcus was shocked by the strength in her grip. "I can do more than walk now, Marcus. The implants, the integration with human technology, it's changed me. I can interface directly with your systems, your weapons, your ships." She moved to the nearest computer terminal, placing her hands on the interface. The screen lit up with data streams Marcus couldn't follow. Zephyrian and human code blending in impossible patterns. "Your defensive systems are centuries behind. Thakmer technology, but they don't expect hybrid tactics." Outside, the first wave of raiders had landed. Colonial troops were falling back under overwhelming firepower. The Thakmer fought with brutal efficiency, their energy weapons cutting through human defenses like paper. The resilient dawn is still. "In Dock 7, Marcus said suddenly, "if you can really interface with our systems." Zenara's smile was sharp as a blade. "Captain Webb, I believe it's time to show these raiders what happens when you corner something that refuses to stay down." They fought their way through chaotic streets, Zenara moving with inhuman grace despite her recent paralysis. Her enhanced nervous system processed threats faster than normal reflexes could respond, the neural implants turning her into something between organic being and living computer. At the spaceport, the resilient Dawn sat under heavy guard. Thakmer forces had surrounded it, recognizing the value of capturing intact human vessels. Marcus and his crew engaged them directly, while Zenara slipped aboard through the cargo bay. The moment her hands touched the ship's main console, everything changed. The Dawn systems, primitive by Zephyrian standards, but robust in their simplicity, welcomed her consciousness like an old friend. She felt the ship's engines, its weapons, its sensors as extensions of her own body. "Marcus," her voice echoed through the calm system, "get everyone clear. I'm about to show these raiders why humanity and Zephyria should never have been enemies." The resilient Dawn rose from its berth with impossible smoothness, its weapons systems tracking targets with precision no human pilot could achieve. Zenara had become the ship, her consciousness flowing through its circuits, her will directing its actions. The first Thakmer vessel exploded before its crew realized they were under attack. The second managed to fire a single shot before following its companion into oblivion. For the first time in 47 years, Zenara was truly free, and her freedom had teeth. When two species become one force, the battle for New Geneva lasted 3 days. By the time the Colonial Authority fleet arrived, they found the Thakmer forces in full retreat, their invasion fleet reduced to burning wreckage scattered across the system. At the center of the carnage, the resilient Dawn hung in space like an avenging angel, its hull gleaming with modifications that defied human engineering. Zenara had done more than pilot the ship, she had transformed it. Admiral James Carter stood on the bridge of the flagship Endeavour, studying the readings with a mixture of awe and concern. "That salvage vessel is showing energy signatures we don't have classifications for." "How is that possible?" Marcus Webb materialized on the main screen, his face bearing the exhaustion of someone who had witnessed the impossible. "Admiral, I'd like to introduce you to the future of human-alien cooperation. Her name is Zinara, and she just saved your colony." The implications hit the colonial authority like a shockwave. A paralyzed alien had not only recovered, but had demonstrated technological integration capabilities that made their best scientists look like children playing with toys. The political ramifications were staggering, but for Marcus and Zinara, the victory felt personal. They stood together on the observation deck of the Dawn, watching as rescue ships tended to the wounded and began the process of rebuilding. Her transformation was complete now. The neural implants no longer foreign intrusions, but integral parts of who she had become. "Your people will want to study me," Zinara said, her voice carrying notes of both amusement and resignation. "They'll want to understand how I interface with your technology so completely." Marcus nodded. "And your people, the few Ephrians left scattered across the galaxy? They'll want to know how you survived, how you overcame what should have been impossible. Then perhaps it's time for both our species to learn something new," Zinara replied. She extended her hand to him, palm up, when Marcus placed his hand over hers. He could feel the faint vibration of the neural implants, the bridge between two different kinds of consciousness. "Partnership?" he asked. "Partnership," she agreed. Months later, the Zephyrian Human Cooperation Initiative was born from their example. Zinara became the first alien to hold joint citizenship in both the colonial authority and the scattered Zephyrian enclaves. Her unique integration with human technology led to breakthroughs that revolutionized both species' understanding of consciousness, technology, and what was possible when different minds worked together. Marcus took command of the first joint species exploration vessel, the Unity's Dawn, with Zinara as his co-captain and interface specialist. Together, they pushed the boundaries of known space, their partnership proving that the strongest bonds weren't formed by similarity, but by choosing to stand together despite differences. The Thakmar raiders still prowled the outer systems, but they gave wide berth to ships bearing the new joint insignia, a stylized human hand clasped with a Zephyrian tentacle over a field of stars. Word had spread through the underworld about the alien woman who refused to stay down and the human captain who helped her rise. On quiet nights, when the Unity's Dawn drifted between stars, Marcus and Zinara would stand on the observation deck, watching the universe unfold before them. She had taken her first step with him beside her, and now they walked together into a future neither species could have imagined alone. "Thank you," she would sometimes say, though they both knew the debt had been repaid 1,000 times over. "Thank you," he would reply, because some partnerships transcended gratitude and became something closer to destiny. In the end, it wasn't human stubbornness or Zephyrian adaptability that changed the galaxy. It was the moment when both chose to believe that impossible was just another word for not yet. And Zinara Kethaval, who had been paralyzed for decades, took her first steps into a future where no one would ever be trapped by their limitations again.